When you look at these swaths of land and the development that's coming with it, we estimate that in this Tier 1 development, as applications come in, of our 400 business members, approximately 100 of them will be gone. My goal is to mitigate the challenges that are going to exist by finding them a place, working with the development community, and to be truthful, this has absolutely never been done before.
I'm Peter McCully. That's Dean Barbour of the Fleetwood Business Improvement Association. In July, the BC government announced formal approval of provincial funding for the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension project. It's a $4 billion price tag, including $2.4 billion from the province, $1.3 billion from the feds. The remainder comes from local government. Lauren Collins, a reporter with the Surrey Now Leader, will take us through the scope of the project, including reaction and commentary from community and business groups.
From the latest community news to informative, entertaining reads for travelers and the cannabis curious, just visit your local Black Press Media community newspaper website to sign up today.
Thanks for joining us today, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Recently, Rob Fleming, BC's Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, held a news conference to announce the project was moving forward, probably sooner than expected, and you were in attendance.
Yes, it happened about a month ago. It was held by the provincial government in Surrey, around where the line will be starting. Fleming noted that the project would be delivered 2 years earlier and around $500 million less than originally anticipated, but that's because with the provincial government on board, it's now a one-phase project instead of two. Initially, the plan was for the Surrey-Langley extension to go just until I think it was 166th Street in Surrey. They'd have that operational and then begin on the second stretch of it into Langley. It would have been operational fully by 2030. But now that the government's going at it all in one go, it will be, as they say, delivered 2 years earlier and $500 million less.
Perhaps you could rough out the details of the extension. What will it look like? How many stations are we talking about?
So in total, there will be 8 stations along the 16-kilometer extensions, with stations at 140th Street, 152nd, 160th, 166th, 184th, 190th, 196th, and 203rd Street in Langley. The stations have yet to be named, and the government is still in the planning and designing phases for those. They do, however, know the alignment for the elevated guideway. It'll run along the center of Fraser Highway from King George Station to about 152nd Street. From there, the line will move to the north side of Fraser until just after 166th. The guideway will move briefly to the center and then move to the south side through the agricultural land reserve area before moving back to center just before 184th Street. From there, the SkyTrain will move back to the north side of Fraser until moving to the south side of Industrial Avenue once it gets down into Langley.
Lauren, there's a bit of history here with this SkyTrain extension. Perhaps you could take us through it.
Yeah, it was actually a little over 4 years ago, in the lead up to the last civic election, that then mayoral candidate and now Mayor Doug McCallum announced his intent to run for mayor and said he would scrap the already approved light rail transit project, which would have connected Newton to City Centre via King George Boulevard and City Centre to Guildford via 104th Avenue. Then, after he and a State Surrey coalition majority were elected, City Council unanimously passed a motion after being sworn in to, quote, cancel the LRT project. By the following July, TransLink estimated the entire 16-kilometer route would cost $3.12 billion, nearly double the funding it had available. Because of that, TransLink proposed the two-phase project, with phase 1 terminating around 166th Street in Fleetwood, which would have been an estimated $1.63 billion. It was during the 2020 provincial election that NDP leader John Horgan pledged that his party would complete the extension, ultimately taking over the project and announcing it would be built in one phase out to Langley instead of TransLink's two-phase approach.
The project's no doubt going to bring a fair amount of redevelopment with it. I understand Dean Barbour of the Fleetwood Business Improvement Association feels there will be at least 100 businesses displaced with construction. And you talked to him about that?
Yes, I spoke to Dean Barbour Since the change of plans from LRT to the SkyTrain, he's done surveys with businesses, which surprisingly, not many businesses, residents, or landlords seem to know exactly what is going on. But he estimates, because a lot of these businesses have been in the community for decades, that as the line is being built and it's getting closer to completion, a lot of those businesses and their owners will be ready to retire and throw in the towel, which will then lead for opportunities for newer businesses. And he's already working on reaching out to newer businesses.
When you look at these swaths of land and the development that's coming with it, we estimate that in this Tier 1 development, as applications come in, of our 400 business members, approximately 100 of them will be gone. Now, sky's not falling, because in this area here, for example, a lot of these people, the businesses that have been there, they've been there for decades and decades. They're ready for a retirement check. They're ready to get out of the business they're in. They're looking forward to a massive land assembly here and cashing out. But there are businesses, particularly up here and in a couple of other areas, where in their lease renewals, they got what they call a demo clause, which means that they can basically evict you within, in some senses, 90 days. And when we see demo clauses coming into lease renewals, we know that there's something coming down the pipe. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, they may not be evicted for 5 years, but we know that's a sign that development's coming. And it makes sense. Now, at the same time, with all these businesses that we're talking about that are going to be gone, my goal is to mitigate the challenges that are going to exist by finding them a place, working with the development community, and to be truthful, this has absolutely never been done before.
Dean and I spoke extensively about the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension, and he and the association and some of its members have worked to create a map to give people more of an idea of what the area could look like and how they would like to plan what it would look like once the ball gets rolling on construction and people start moving in, whether it's businesses or residents.
Our approach has been, how do we make this area here, this town center, the heart of the city, how do we make it walkable, accessible, lively, attractive? How do we build together an opportunity to grow this area to make sure that everything's within what we call now the 15-minute neighborhood, which is West Fleetwood Village, heart of the city, and East Fleetwood Village. Each one of these areas will have businesses and residential and daycares and all the tools you need to walk to just about everything that you're going to want to do, including having the restaurants and the bars and the coffee shops and the dry cleaning and all the things that we use, not necessarily on a day-to-day basis, but still keep you within walking distance of your residence.
So, Lauren, I understand that Dean Barbour has some experience working with businesses while dealing with SkyTrain construction in the past.
Yes, Barbour told me he also worked with businesses during the construction of the Canada Line in Richmond and Vancouver, which that is different than the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension, which is an elevated guideway. The Canada Line is a cut and cover running underground, which he said is a, quote, different animal entirely. But he added that with SkyTrain stations these days, they're not as cumbersome as they were 30 years ago. And it seems like TransLink, or I guess in this case, the provincial government, is working better to integrate those SkyTrain stations into the community around it.
When Today in BC continues, Manny Chahil of the New Clayton Community Association and Ken Krasnikoff of the Cloverdale Community Association.
Why spend hours searching dealerships, comparing makes and models? Find the best of BC's inventory in one place, todaysdrive.com. You'll have access to inventory across BC, where you can easily find a vehicle that fits your needs and gets you where you need to go in comfort. Get in the driver's seat. Don't miss out on the many options we have available for you. Powered by Black Press Media, todaysdrive.com connects you with exclusive new and used car deals.
Today in BC is a Black Press Media podcast. I'm Peter McCully. With SkyTrain coming, Surrey community groups, I understand, are pushing for balance between development and amenities, and you had a chance to chat with Manny Chahil about that.
Manny is part of the New Clayton Community Association. He's also a realtor, but he seems pretty in favor of the SkyTrain extension. But what he and his members of his association are pushing for is a balance between, yes, they want that development, they want that density, but if that's going to come, they would like the amenities to go with that, whether it be more pools, more rec center, and ice rink. He says no one's going to say no to any of those things.
You want to leave a community as a well-functioning one. So that's the part that we try to help instill in the membership too. We still need parks. We still need these things. So you can't just keep fighting for density without the balance. As far as density, it seems to understand. Again, it's interesting to me actually that in the last little while, people understand density kind of equates to affordability. But there's a lot more I think the city can do. I don't have a problem with a building going way up high, but you better be giving people a lot of different things. We have a rec center up here, but it's bare bones, right? We don't have a place to swim. If we do, I know they're going to build some ice rinks down in the Cloverdale Fairgrounds, and that's nice, but can we add those things into the community here as well? So those are the kind of amenities and things I would like to see. There's not many people who are going to say no to a swimming pool, no to an ice rink, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, that's good for the community. It's interesting too, because when I'm balancing out being a realtor and I'm talking to people as well, I'm starting to notice a lot of people like in this immediate area who are talking about keeping a unit that they could age in place, which I find interesting. I like that idea when you're creating a neighborhood concept plan, you're trying to define these densities. Sometimes people as landowners are just trying to get the most money they can to leave, but when people are saying they actually still want to stay, then you're going to be a little more community driven.
Both him and Barbour talked about the 15-minute city concept. Basically, your city, your life is 15 minutes around you from when you walk out the door. You've got your groceries, you've got your recreation amenities, you've got your coffee shops, your restaurants, your schools. And that's what it seems a lot of development is pushing for more today, is that 15-minute city concept. I think even in Vancouver, planners have said that Vancouver is a pretty good model for a 15-minute city.
And you also had a chance, Lauren, to talk with Ken Krasnikoff, and he's with the Cloverdale Community Association.
Ken also seems to be in favor of the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension on a more personal level. He is part of the Cloverdale Community Association, which covers a broader area than the New Clayton Community Association, but it does have membership along the SkyTrain line. And like Manny, he is asking for a balance of amenities. So while most of his membership is not going to be right along the SkyTrain line, he's hoping that TransLink thinks of connections with better bus routes to connect those more south communities with the SkyTrain line.
I think it's a logical extension to bring a SkyTrain all the way out to Langley. My concern is how we'll say Cloverdale, not so much Clayton, how is Cloverdale going to be connected to the SkyTrain station? Is transit going to be running buses on 168th connecting West Clayton to that SkyTrain station? Is 184th going to be connecting this area of Cloverdale? There's still talks about the proposed hospital here. How is that hospital going to be served by transit? Again, it's early. We'll see what happens. But these are some of the concerns and issues that we have too. I'm assuming it's going to take the congestion off of Fraser Highway and some of our highways like that. Definitely increase the population of Surrey because we have still quite a bit of developable land in around Clayton and Fleetwood area.
One thing that Ken is wondering is what that development will look like, if there's still going to be any of that single family dwellings anymore, pointing to the cost of land, the cost of servicing, and how it's just driving the density higher and higher.
One of the things I found interesting about the series you did on the SkyTrain was the Metro Vancouver Transit Police are busy planning to hire more officers with the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension coming.
They don't know how many new officers they will be getting yet, as the focus right now is on the Broadway corridor extension in Vancouver. That extension's getting about 18, so maybe around the same number for Surrey, but no guarantees on what that could be. Transit Police's Constable Amanda Steed said that what they ask for and what they get is not always the same thing.
We're increasing our hiring budget for the expansion, so we'll be adding more officers to our department. Currently, we have 184 sworn members, and we're hoping to increase that over the next 5 or 6 years to over 20 more added onto the line. So that should help police the system, the expanding system. Vancouver alone is expanding, and then the Surrey-Langley expansion. I know Vancouver has been approved for 18 more officers within that budget for that expansion. People should know that we're not just making the system bigger without any contingency plan. We are planning to add more officers to the line. I don't know when I'll have those numbers. I think what we ask for and what is approved are two totally different things.
Yep.
And all I know so far is that Vancouver's been approved for 18.
Lauren, how soon is soon for the project to get underway?
Actually, the provincial government just announced that they are looking for requests for qualifications from companies to design the elevated guideway. From there, they will be narrowing it down for requests for proposals. And then the next phase is requests for the station designs. And then from there, they'll have a third procurement phase, which will be for electrical and all the nitty-gritty stuff.
So when the minister spoke, he said that in order to increase bid competition and allow for more local companies to bid on different parts of the project, that it'll be delivered through 3 different subcontracts.
First is the elevated guideway, which has just opened up. Then it will be for the stations, and then it'll be for the electrical and all the very technical stuff. Major construction is expected to begin in 2024. Currently, the City of Surrey is doing early works construction for the line. So while the average person might not think that a lot of work is being done, the city has been approving contracts to widen Fraser Highway through the Green Timbers urban forest to allow for the elevated guideway and for traffic to continue to flow through while they're doing that construction. That work, which has already started, is expected to be completed by May 2023.
I'd like to thank Lauren Collins, reporter with the Surrey Now Leader, for being with us today on this edition of Today in BC. If you have suggestions or comments, send us a voice message to podcast@blackpress.ca. You may be part of our podcast mailbag segment. You'll find Today in BC podcasts on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, and Google Podcasts.